machine that executes at the highest level.
That's where we pump sell billions of dollars of real estate.
The chasing business, now all of a sudden I was attracting it.
You're gonna get a lot of no's before you get that first yes.
You're not doing consistent.
You're everywhere all the time. People will take you.
You have to outproduce your problems.
It has everything to do with the mindset and the discipline.
Don't try to be making a withdrawal before you've made a deposit.
Focusing on the quality, not the quantity.
Continue to move forward and grow.
What is up, Every Agent Wins fam? Today we have another fantastic show for you. We have someone special straight out of Canada, Mr. Brandon Grass. Now, Brandon Grass has only been in the business for 5 years, but closed 47 transactions last year and just over $15 million in volume. And he has done that just with one certain thing. That one thing is circle dialing. He also does an email drip. He made over 60,000 phone calls, cold calling last year. He has a goal of 100,000 cold calls this year. This man has the best ROI in the business, has only spent $450 on a list, and now has made over $500,000 just on that single list. So stick around, check it out. You will see this guy's amazing after this message from our sponsor.
So you're a new agent. You don't know where to start. You've done typical agent things like cold calling.
Have you ever thought of selling your home? Hello? Tom?
Hi, looking to sell your home?
And doing open houses. You're not making any progress. So you download the Bellwood Agent and you follow directions provided. You find a seller. Bellwood likes the house. Within a few days, you get an accepted contract. You show the house. Bellwood buys the house. You get paid. You relist the property once flipped. You sell the property. You get paid again. You did this with no knowledge or experience. Rinse and repeat.
Hey, Tom. Still looking to sell your home? Bellwood's buying.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What is going on, everybody? We got a huge show today. We are here at Every Agent Wins, where we are bringing the best real estate talent on the planet. And we have Brandon Grass out of Canada. What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good, man. Good. Glad to be here.
Oh, dude. So I've seen you around. I've seen you on social media. We do not know each other in person, but you have grabbed my attention, man. You are crushing it in the phone call space. It would blow my head up if I did what you do, some of the things that you told me, man, and we'll dive into that. But how you doing, brother? How is everything?
Good. Really good. Really good. I know it was a trying year for most. And, I know coming in at the end of March, my wife was terrified. I had 18 listings that I had met the sellers last year, vetted, ready to go. I listed 2 out of those 18. So 16 people said, yeah, we're not doing anything. And I'm like, well, there goes my whole year. But by the skin of my teeth and just continuing the process, although different than, normal with COVID and, the Zoom and learning how to do a listing presentation in front of the computer and all those things, just adapting with the punches, I was able to pull out, another record year for myself.
And what was the record year?
So for 47 closings this year, I did just over 15 million in volume.
Atta baby. That's good, man. That's good. So you expanded. So what was the year before? So we can kind of see, and then I want to dive into, because you cut back actually on your activity your year before, propelled you for this year, correct?
Yeah, I had 26 closings last year, and I don't know my sales volume, but 26 closings, and 20 of those or 22 of those were from circle calls, so circle prospecting, cold calls. And then what the premise is when I'm making those calls, if they're interested or if they're lukewarm or if they're never doing anything, but they still want to keep up to date with the market, I ask them if it's all right to keep in touch via email. And so they give me their email and then I put them in my constant contact. And then I send a weekly email out every Monday morning at 10:30 in the morning. And so that just kind of goes out every Monday repetitively. And that email had landed me this year out of my 47, 15 closings this year. So it was tremendous.
That's great, dude. And then that's the key is consistency. And that is what you are hitting on the head. And that's from I've interviewed some top people in this industry, and consistency is where they kill it, man. They crush it. It doesn't matter what activity you're doing. Find that activity that you are doing and crush that activity.
Right. That's
Right?
100%. And you know what? That's my discipline talking, because I wasn't disciplined last year. And you know, I made just over 60,000 cold calls. And so I would not call for a week or two. And then there I am on Friday doing a 10-hour call session where I'm calling like over 1,000 people in the day, and I'm just exhausted. I'm wiped, and I couldn't make sense of it. But because I was inconsistent, I had to do that. Where this year, for next year, I've kind of mapped out, okay, you know, I'm going to call this many hours a day, every day, hit my number at 417 calls a day, no matter what, 5 days a week, and hopefully take Saturdays and Sundays off. And I'm sure I'm going to have my best year, because I've never made 100,000 cold calls in a calendar year ever before.
So what kind of time commitment is that on the phone?
So 400, see, and the thing is, it's a little bit difficult on the time commitment, because sometimes when I'm doing follow-up calls and there's a little relationship there or a little rapport, oh man, and with COVID, they want to talk your ear off. So sometimes you're making calls and you're on one call for 45 minutes, right?
Sure.
And I'm not the one to say, hey, I got to go. If I'm calling you, I got to give you the time, right? So I'm probably a little bit too easy in that regard. But yes, some calls are longer than others. So, and you know, it just depends on if everyone's out and about and no one's answering their phone, or if everyone's at home and there's a big snowstorm. COVID was the biggest blessing in March, April, May. I mean, I had more contacts, conversations, and that's probably why my volume was down in the number of calls, because I was talking to so many people. Like I was almost at a 30% contact rate, which is like unheard of.
Wow. That's amazing. That is pretty impressive. And a lot of real estate agents are doing well right now, because the market is just, interest rates are so low, and the market, and there's virtually not a ton of inventory. So it's literally just flying off right now. So listings is the name of the game. You were getting listings. So, and I know you weren't always in this industry, right? You're on year 5 now.
Yeah, just started my 5th year.
So tell some of the people where you kind of came from. So I want people to realize that you're 5 years in, and if you make a commitment and go for it, you can really crush it and not have any knowledge. So where'd you come from, and where are you at today?
Yeah. So I came from being a high school dropout, working a bunch of dead end jobs that I was just kind of bouncing all around with no real game plan. Moved out on my own with a girlfriend at the time, and we were struggling to pay our rent for $750 a month. That's how long ago that was.
Yes.
And so I ended up getting a second job, and the second job wasn't enough, you know, at the end of the day, because I'm working, you know, here, I'm working there. I got gas. I've got all these expenses as a young, you know, 20 something that's out on his own. So I took to Craigslist and found a third job, and ended up getting a cleaning position for cleaning a restaurant. And because it was a flat pay, so you got paid $1,500 a month, no matter what. It didn't matter if it took you 6 hours. It didn't matter if it took you a half an hour. As long as there's no complaints, it didn't matter. And I'm like, oh man, this is the name of the game. So I got in this system routine and just pounded through. And I think I ended up doing it an hour and a half. And I'm like, if I get a second restaurant, I'll be able to lose both my other 2 jobs that I had at the time and just do cleaning. And I remember my mom's like, you are nuts. You're out of your mind. You're leaving a electrician apprenticeship for this cleaning, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turned out to be great, because I ended up, you know, cleaning for him for a number of years, and then stepping out into my own. Now at this time I had won my mom over finally, and she said, well, here's what you need to do, Brandon. You need to pick up the phone book, and you need to call restaurants to see if they need cleaning services. And I'm like, Mom, are you nuts? And so I literally had no script. I mean, this is years ago, guys. There was no triple line dialer. There's no Mojo. There's no RedX. It was literally a lined sheet of paper. And I had every restaurant on it, and if they were happy or sad with their cleaning, and when I should call them back. That was basically my CRM. And so I built that across Canada. and ended up doing very, very well and had a son. And so I was never home. And 9 months out of my son's first year, I was traveling. So I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work. My wife wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. So real estate it was. But because BC has requirements that you need your English proficiency, which is equivalent to your grade 12 English, I didn't have that. So I had to go get tutored. I found an English teacher that tutored me for free downtown Kelowna and ended up getting that, writing that exam, and then studying for my real estate license and getting that.
That is interesting, dude. That is an interesting path. But what the funny part that I caught out of that is you started dialing before this and you got good at it and you had some practice. So that's pretty interesting that worked over. And that's probably why you chose dialing, because you were comfortable with it, right?
It is. I mean, I know there's a lot of, misbelievers, and they want to do social media and they want to do all this stuff. You guys have to understand that when you own the phone numbers, like my phone number list that I purchased was $450 US. I've now made over $500,000 from that $450 list. There's no one in the face of this real estate empire that has an investment and an ROI better than that. There's no way. And that's going to pay dividends going forward. Like I'm going to keep accounting my, commissions earned from those call lists. I'm not adding numbers to them. But it's getting more and more valuable.
That's crazy. So are you fine tuning that, or is it just the same numbers over and over from the different counties?
Same numbers. So what's great is my contact rate's going up because, again, our data, we were talking about this earlier, but the data in Canada, guys, sucks. It's awful. I don't have addresses. I don't know if they're in a nursing home. I don't know if they're in a mobile home park. I don't know if they're a renter. I have no idea. So when I'm making these calls and I get like some sweet old 97-year-old lady being like, this is a senior home, how are you calling me? So obviously I apologize and take her off my list. So my list is getting more close to what I'm wanting. And then of course, if there's the angry people that don't want to be contacted or whatever, I get rid of them. So my list is starting to look really, really nice. And now when I go down through on Mojo, it says your phone number, address, and then your email. And, it used to be always no emails. Now it's like email, space, and then email. So it's starting to fill up, which is really, really cool.
That is amazing, man. I mean, I've never heard of somebody so committed to the phone. So, I mean, so I want to go back to this. What kind of, are you doing 8 hours, 5 hours, 2 hours? What is this looking like?
Yeah. So Ronnie, I didn't have a consistent schedule. Like I even last year, even this year, I was so inconsistent with my schedule. And again, it all comes down to discipline. And then, this year was really, like, I'm really disappointed in myself because when I was starting to get the business coming in from the weekly email, I was like, sitting back, and it's coming to me and I don't have to do anything. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I've got next year looking at me and all these people that have already bought. Like I basically got 47 people now that were in my system that are there, but as past clients, right? So that's a problem. So now it's just refining and going back. So that's why I've got time blocked for four hours a day, from 8:30 to 12:30, Monday to Friday is kind of what I'm aiming at for next year.
Wow. So this is just all circle dialing, all cold calling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So walk me through a script, and if you want, I can role play with you or whatever you want, but walk me through a script. You don't know me, I don't know you. You're calling me for the first time.
Right. So a couple of things to keep in mind. I don't know where you are other than the city I think you're in. So I can't do like Ronnie, we just listed a home at 123 Main Street, because I have no idea if you're on Main Street. So I just do a market statistic. And right now, because the market's so hot, I would say, hey, Ronnie, this is Brandon calling with Remax. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, Brandon. How'd you get my number?
Oh, Google.
Interesting. What can I do for you?
No, I'm just kidding. But if they are rude, I'm usually rude back. But yeah. I try and just go from the approach of, if there's anything I could do for you. So what I would go lead into on that kind of call, I probably wouldn't go over the market stats. I'd just say, hey, is there anything I could do for you real estate related? And, do you have an agent when the time comes? If you don't, would it be all right if we kept in touch? And it's most likely if Ronnie's going to answer like that, how'd you get my number? He's going to say no, right? So
Yeah,
it's the next
right.
call. But I just bring some market information. So I just say, hey, Ronnie, I'm not sure if you knew or not, but we've had 197 homes sell in Kelowna over the last week. And we know when a house sells, usually 2 or more happen to sell right away. And so I was just wondering, when do you plan on moving?
Right. So when my wife and I talked, and we're probably maybe 2-3 years out if we do anything.
Terrific. Where are you guys going to in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah. So I mean, we'll probably move up north an hour or so.
Okay. You got kids, family there, or?
Of course. Yeah. We have kids with us, and we have some family that lives up north an hour.
Awesome. And are you looking to downsize, upsize when you move?
Probably downsize, where our kids are going to be moving out soon. And so we're probably going to be downsizing.
Okay, terrific. Well, in the meantime, in the next 1 to 2 years, I'll check in with you every 6 months or so. But I'd be happy to keep you up to date with what's selling in your neighborhood and any new listings. I know there's always that nosy neighbor, and not saying you're nosy, but I'd be happy to provide that information to you in an email on Monday mornings and keep you up to date with what's going on in the market that, affects your property value every week. Our market is fluctuating significantly right now because of COVID.
That's pretty enticing. I think that might be a good thing. Yeah. Why don't you do that for me?
Awesome. So I just get the email, and then I would, because he's, 1 to 2 years, 3 years, I'd give him a call in 6 months. But again, that weekly email is going to start hammering out every single Monday morning, a Monday morning at 10:30 in the morning.
So then you're putting them in your CRM, and therefore putting a task behind them, putting all your notes, and then you call them in 6 months. Do you find something that's interesting about them, or something that you can bring up in the next follow-up conversation?
Yes and no, because in 6 months, I think the stat is 98% of everyone you call today will not remember who you are tomorrow. Like, unless they're like a friend, but if you're a perfect stranger, right? So 98%. So if you're mad at me today, the chance of you being mad at me in 6 months, it's not going to be relevant, right? You might have a great day. You might be super happy.
Right.
And I'm making notes during my calls, and I'm like, this guy was so rude. And so I've got rude in big, bold, exclamation marks. And I call back, and he's the nicest gentleman ever. So it's like, what happened?
Right.
But it's just different timing for different folks. So no, I do take really good notes. So like for you, I would write down, looking to downsize. Okay. So, you're going to need an introduction for, so say, for example, in 6 months, you don't answer my call or my email. Well, one of my value add follow-ups to you would be like, hey, Ronnie, you know what? I know you're moving to, wherever you're moving to. I've got 3 great agents that I've vetted, 2 I've used in the past. I'd love for you to put them in contact with you if that's all right. How do you feel about that? So it's just some creative follow-up there with some value and, a potential referral as well.
I like that. That's good. So if somebody's trying to potentially get started, I know you've mastered this now. Where do they get started? What programs can they use?
So
things like that.
Ricky Cruz program is, as good as it gets. It's free. The scripts he provides, the RedX, you sign up through him, you get like a referral code. You get a referral code for Constant Contact. And he basically lays out his plan on zerotodiamond.com. And so a lot of agents will sign up, they'll kind of dabble, but what a lot of the massive amount of people with Ricky's following just simply don't do enough to get success in any quantity. So they're picking up the phone and they're dialing 30 people a week. Well, you're not going to do any kind of building. You're just not going to get there. So, if I say to anybody, if you're going to make a commitment to it, I would start out with a single line, like just, with your cell phone, and just go through a couple hundred calls and get used to it. And then when you're feeling, okay, I'm going to make the commitment to it, then invest in the tools, but don't let the tools be an excuse. You can do, you can do a couple hundred calls a day in your 2-3 hour time block from your cell phone without anything, CRM or anything like that you need in an Excel spreadsheet, for example.
And what dialer do you use?
So I use Mojo.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
typical. Yeah, that seems like a pretty good one.
It is, and a lot of people ask me, well, do you like Red X better? I've only been with Mojo, and funny story, the only reason I'm with Mojo is because the guy I was calling with like a year and a half ago, I was so stubborn. I was doing the single line dialer. He's like, you need to pay for the 3-line. I'm like, I'm not paying $149 for this. No way. So he signed me up with his credit card, and he said, well, you've got a month on me, and hopefully that will convince you. And well, I've never left since then. So
Right.
it worked. But yeah, the 3-line dialer is amazing. I mean, your pre-recorded voicemails, and now because the market is so hot, so I can do a voicemail being like, hey, Ronnie, house just sold in your neighborhood for, over asking. Is there any chance that you think that your home is worth more than you actually think it is? Give me a call back, kind of thing. So you can pre-record that, and then basically you're making the calls, talking to people, but you're also getting the recurring, brand awareness as well.
Beautiful. I love what you're doing, man. I could never do it. It's that would be hard on me, but I know there's a lot of people out there that this would be fantastic for. So tell me a little bit about how this strategy and getting into real estate has changed your life.
Yeah, well, I think for me, when I was doing the restaurants, I had to literally pick through the phone book, right? So getting into real estate, I thought, well, I don't want to go through the phone book. Like, that's just crazy. Like, I want buyer leads. I want people registering on my site because they're going to be putting their hand up saying, hey, I need a great realtor. Help me buy a house. Oh, that was not the case. So now what I know from buyer leads to where sellers are, I mean, I've got a family. I've got 2 young kids. I've got a teenager as well, but she's here part-time. And time is everything, man. Like, leveraging your time. Like, I can't tell you how many times we were in Mexico last year. It was Mother's Day weekend. It was May long weekend. We were out on the boat in the summer. And I'm putting deals together because I've got a showing happening and they're interested and the buyers want to put an offer. So I got to contact my sellers. I mean, that is the name of the game. I'm not in my car driving buyers all over the city and everything. So it's just so different. In the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, he talks about listings, leads, and leverage. And so listings, provide you with the leads if they're correctly marketed, and the leverage of your time with, what you want to be doing as opposed to driving buyers through the car, right? So it's really awesome. Greg Harrelson out of Myrtle Beach, he said something that's always stuck with me. It was a couple of years ago, but he said, when you're in front of the windshield, when you're on windshield time, you can't make money as a realtor. So whether you're driving to an appointment, whether you're driving to pick up the drive cleaning, whatever, I mean, I know with Bluetooth you can make calls, but let's face it, you can't make real money.
Right.
So the way I make money is sitting my butt down in my house, blocking out all the distractions and making the calls. So that's where I got to be.
That's it, man. I love it. And I love how you touched on the time thing, man. There's nothing that can replace time with your family and hanging out and just enjoying and actually getting to spend the money that you're working so hard to make, and saving it and all that type of stuff. So kudos to you, man, for realizing that. But I wanted to talk to you too, is you said you do a lot of reading. You did bring up the book that you read. What was it? Millionaire
Real Estate Agent.
Millionaire, great book. Yes. Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So what is a book that you've read? And I know you said you read something like 47 books or something last year, which is crazy. So you're totally a student, which is ironic because you didn't finish high school.
Right.
Which is,
right.
So it's great, man. What is a book that you would just suggest that has really just changed or pivoted your life that you could just suggest to somebody else that may change or pivot their life?
Yeah. And you know what, this is controversy at its finest, because a lot of people hate Grant Cardone. They can't stand the guy. They think he's an arrogant, butthole, and they just don't like him. But for me, Grant, what Grant's done for me in my life, he means more to me than, a lot of other people because of what he's done and when he's shown up in my life. So the first, obviously I'm wearing the 10X hat, but the 10X rule was really like, okay, what is this? And okay, you know, am I a 10xer? And I'm thinking, you know, if my goal is $1 million, I'm going to make $10 million. I mean, no, I'm not nuts. I'm not crazy. And that's not the premise of the book. But the real book that he wrote is Be Obsessed or Be Average. And I always thought to my early, I mean, I don't know how many years ago I discovered that book, but 4 or 5 years ago, I always thought there was something wrong with me. I never understood why I was such a dreamer, why I wanted success so bad. Like it just is always been a part of me. And I have no idea where it comes from. And Be Obsessed or Be Average was like, wow, I'm A, not alone. And B, like everything Grant talks about, you know, criticism from people that, you know, have agreed to do less and given up on their own lives and their own dreams, want you to do less because they can't understand why you want more. And it was just like, wow, like what just happened? And so that was a really, really great book. So if you're, you know, always, you know, kind of feeling misplaced and you want a higher purpose and you feel like that's coming from that book is a great book for you to get. And it's on Audible. And Grant does his own audio recordings too, which is awesome. So you can hear his passion and his thought process through as he's reading it. It's really, really good stuff.
Dude, so I love Grant, dude. And I understand he's controversial, but I've been to a couple of these events and he gets you pumped, man. He gets you pumped, and it takes, and if you're that person that can take that information and apply it into your life, then you're going to have success with Grant. If you can't, you're probably not going to have success with anything then at that point. You got to take that information and be able to apply it and be successful just as he has. So that's amazing, dude. 10X is a good book. I like all of his stuff, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, and you know what? For me, it was a pivotal career moment for me with the restaurant cleaning because I know this is going to sound crazy. I was in business for 7 years. I didn't know how to sell. I had no idea, Ronnie. I had no idea how to sell. And I know that sounds crazy to you, but I literally had no idea to sell. So it's just like, you know, getting a listing. I had no idea how to get a listing. It was the restaurants. And I was so frustrated. I had done 7 proposals that day, and I didn't get one of the contracts signed. And I'm like, what happened? So I went to YouTube and saw this video that I've watched 1,000 times of Grant's. It changed my life. And he was offering a free trial for his Cardone University, signed up for that. And I've been on it now for, 6.5, 7 years now, every day, 6 segments a day, no matter what. And so that was the beginning of Grant. But what Grant's done for me for my self-improvement is, you know, I went from not reading any books to now reading, you know, having a goal next year to read 60 books, and really being focused on what I want to read, what I want to learn, you know, understanding that I do a lot of cold calls. I don't do any marketing. I don't do any social media. I've got like probably, 15 YouTube videos. So all of those things that's so apparent, I haven't done. And it's just like, why haven't I? And so it's been crazy. So I've been reading a bunch of Dan Brown stuff, and I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he is the direct mail king. And he's got a whole suite of books, The Ultimate Sales Letter, Direct Marketing. So I want to start doing a farm where they get a piece of mail, like, you know, once a month, once every 2 months, whatever. And I want to start farming a segment of an area because I found an agent. He farms 36,000 homes a month, and that's his farm. And he's in San Diego, I believe. I don't know his site, but it's Dan Beers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
No,
have you heard of him?
I don't know him. No.
So he's got a thing on viral marketing. It's a great 1-hour webinar where he talks about his process and stuff, but he absolutely is a killer direct marketer. And so he's the one that recommended these books and picked one up. And I was just in love, man. I literally took the book and I'm like, wow, my weekly email sucks. So I literally did one thing and implemented it on my weekly email. I had more replies back than I ever had on my weekly email. And it was just as simple as a heartfelt Merry Christmas. I know, so cliche, the realtor wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. But it was, I shared with them my mom's cinnamon bun recipe. And I talk about how it was tradition Christmas morning. And then I go through the recipe. I had clients actually emailing me back being like, hey, these are the best cinnamon buns I ever had. We're going to try this recipe out. You know, do you do this? Do you do that? And I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
But it's just because I didn't know to do that. And, you know, but by reading the book now and like you said, taking action, not just reading the book and, well, I've got knowledge, but doing something with it.
There you go, man. There you go. Your discipline, dude, is pretty amazing. Kudos to you for sure, man. You are crushing it, and you're making it in your own way and doing it how you do it and what fits your model and fits for your personality. So good job, man. If somebody is looking to potentially move your way, or an agent's watching this and they are going to potentially send you a referral out your way, tell us where you're from, what area you work, and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, I mean, I'm pretty well everywhere there. Instagram's a big one for me. I've got over 11,000 followers. And so I service Kelowna, which is basically 3.5 hours north of Vancouver, Canada. So it's a little pocket community. Not a lot of people know about Kelowna, but if you Google it, it's absolutely beautiful. It's a big lake, and we're surrounded by mountains. So we get a desert-like climate in the summer, so very hot and dry, very like kind of Arizona-ish. But then we've got about a foot of snow outside now. So in the winter, it severely drops off, but that's where the locals and tourists love the mountain. We've got a couple amazing ski resorts in our little community, but boating, hiking, mountain biking, all of that lifestyle is terrific here in the Okanagan Valley. And we're seeing a huge influx of people moving from Ontario, Toronto, and Vancouver coming in droves after this COVID. Like everybody's moving. We've got 20% of our buyer market now moving from the Lower Mainland and Vancouver area. So it's been a huge push to our market, which is great because people in Vancouver have a lot of money from their houses that are very expensive, where here you can get the house for, I would say, 60, 70% less.
Wow. That sounds very similar to what is happening. So here in Sacramento, California, I'm sure you're familiar with San Francisco, which is a huge landmark. A lot of that money is coming out this way, and it's very similar to what you're talking about.
Wow.
So it's the high price points, millions, 2 millions, 3 millions, and up, and they're coming here, and it's at least 50% different.
Wow. Well, and I'm sure a part of that is no one can afford a home in San Francisco because all the tech guys have been buying everything like crazy, and gals. It's unbelievable. I know we have an agent in our market. She's been selling real estate since 1985 here in Kelowna. She's got nearly $3 billion in sales, and she goes to these conventions and stuff. And like, you know, here's Jane Hoffman talking about, you know, how to sell luxury waterfront properties. And everyone's like, where's Kelowna? I've never even heard of this place. And she owns the market. She's got 87% market share over homes over $2 million. She sells 87% of that market.
That is amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. Well, good, man. I appreciate you, dude. I really, really do. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I hope we can have you back on again sometime, man.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to do an update after this year. Like I said, I've got a big lofty goal of basically doing 2 years of cold calls in a year. So I want to get to 100,000 calls this year.
That blows my mind, man. All right, brother. You have a good one and enjoy.
Okay. You too.
All right.